Hello again, everybody. It's Mr. C, your tech coach. Very specific topic this time, this micro ICANN cafe, again on pages and again on graphs. This time, however, I'm going to be very specific about what I am going to show you. Let's say you want to, as many times you do in science, plot several different, two or more different lines on the same graph. So for example, let's say over the course, if you have a graph that on the x-axis has time and on the y-axis you have distance traveled, let's say, and you have three different cars or four different cars, and they're all, you want to compare them, you want them all in the same graph, it can get a little tricky. Now you can do it with Excel, and there's a way to do it with Excel, and we have a video for that too if you are an Excel person. But you know what? You can do it with Pages, and you can do it right on your iPad. So once again, we're going to add a chart. And for this kind of graph, when you get a lot of lab data, you're, for example, taking speed data on little cars in a lab or something, or whatever you're doing in the lab, oftentimes you're going to use a scatter or XY plot, okay? So if I go down, the scatter or XY plot, that's the one at the bottom there that doesn't have the lines. It's just a bunch of dots, okay? And it's kind of important that you choose that one. And if I pick that, all right, notice that there are kind of two lines already there, okay? Meaning that already it seems like this is the kind of graph that would allow me to put more than one line on a graph, right? So let's flip it and edit the data. First of all, look at how it's organized. You have the main classifications on top. For in this case, you have the year, okay? And then you have X and Y under each of the years. And notice I can add as many series as I want. Your X and your Y are going to be for each of the lines. So you have an XY pair of points for as many as you want, for as many lines as you want to put up there. So let's flip back around and take a look. Looks like I have each one of those lines represented by year. So let's go back, and instead of year, I'm going to say car 1. I'm going to say 2. And I'm going to say also car 3. So I'm going to have 3 cars, okay? And I'm going to say actually 0, 0. Most of the time you're going to see that if, especially over time, at 0 time you've gone 0 distance. First of all, that just makes sense. You want to always be careful that your data makes sense. So check your data. Think about it. Does it make sense not to have a 0, 0 point? Many times in science, your lines will start at the origin. Okay, so check and ask if you're not sure. All right, but that's one thing just to be careful of. All right, and if you want to add 4 cars or 5 or whatever you want, however many lines you want on the graph, you can do it just by going over one more. So I can scoot over. I could put another one there if I wanted to do that. I'm going to limit it just to 3 because I think you'll get the idea. So let's go. See, at 6 it was like 10. Make a few points that look, let's go 8, 10, 15, 20, and 22. And we're going to go speed, and we'll go so this one is going to be a little bit different, obviously. And I'm going to click Done. So now I've got a bunch of stuff going on there. Whoa, what kind of a mess is this? Okay, so I clearly need to do some work on this graph here. So I'm going to change, oops, go to the paintbrush, and I'm going to say, well, first of all, gosh, I have a lot of options here. What if I click this? All right, well, that looks interesting. What about this one? I like that one. I'm gonna stick with these colors. You can select whatever you want. Remember about printing, though. If you need to print, be careful what you select. Okay. Chart options. Chart title, you might want to have that. Chart legend is on. Connecting lines. Watch what happens when I put connecting lines on. All of a sudden now, notice, oh, interesting. The graph gets a lot more readable because now you have connected some dots to the lines here. And I think that whenever you're putting multiple lines on a graph, probably, and again, this is not all the time, but probably you're going to want to connect these dots, especially to show the trends and what's happening. Okay, so there we go. I just plotted these 3, and now I have a blue, a green, and a yellow. car 1, 2, and 3, and I can start looking at the story that these lines are telling me. Looks like the blue and the green cars, as time went by, they got faster and faster, for example, or their distance was farther, whatever I want on my y-axis, whereas with the yellow or orange car, that was not the case. It went faster and then it fell off, or it was going farther and whatever. Probably this would be a speed graph or something like that. Let's go ahead then, and I had scatter chart. I'll go back to chart options. Again, x-axis. You always want to have your axes labeled. You can do it with a text box, but you might as well do it here because it's easy. I'm going to say that the title is on, okay, and the y-axis, the title is on, okay, and I'm going to say time, and I'm going to say in seconds. Okay, great. Sounds good to me. My y-axis, I'm going to say speed, and we're going to say that is in meters per second. Okay, so that was my speed that we had. All right, and so now I have a labeled y-axis, a labeled x-axis. I've got my legend at the top, car 1, 2, 3. You'd want to ask if there were any other things that your teacher required, but now you have the ability to put several different lines in a very, very common, which is a very common thing you need to do, especially in science, on one graph and make it look really nice so that your lab report will shine. Okay, if you have any other questions, you need some help, always here to help you out. Enjoy exploring Pages and the other apps on your iPad, and we look forward to seeing you again in the next ICANN session.